Hello everybody, Bill McCabe here. Welcome once again to the aftermath of Iron Crane Dojo's class in the Great Pacific Northwest. We're going to continue a little bit of our discussion regarding cane techniques. Today I want to talk just a bit about the physics of cane because we're talking about techniques and various flows and how you can incorporate that into your own physical movement. I want to get down to something that's very basic. And if Sensei Chris, if you could come out here for a second, say hi to our friends out there on the internet. The one thing you need to understand about the cane is that it's a very efficient transformer of force. So for example, when there's a force that's incoming and I capture that force, the cane actually shrinks the force into a very small surface area. Best example would be this. Whenever you practice this kind of stuff, with your friends, to avoid injury, always make sure you use a safety tip on the cane. But I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with a regular cane, with a normal wood surface. If he comes in and throws a punch at me, so all the energy of his forward movement, he comes in again, gets compressed into this actually less than 1 square inch surface tip area on the cane. So you take the entire motion of his physical body and he comes forward once again. There's a lot of force there. And to have it instantly shrunk and compressed into less than 1 square inch area, then return to him as he steps forward, it's a tremendous disincentive for him to continue moving forward. You're basically capturing his energy and returning it to him in a compressed, focused fashion, and it's very painful. In fact, once you learn how to really do this effectively, you can drop a person with it. Okay, so we're talking about a one-hand transition, which is the quickest of all. So Sensei Chris is here, and he makes a quick move on me, see, and I'm just in. Now, I want you to notice that as I do that, my arm's not flaying in the air. He would just push right through this. See, I'm moving quickly, but as he comes in, I'm locking this into my body, so my whole body is behind that, and it serves as an anchor to bounce his force off and to return it into his body. If I project forward, you can see it. It just moves him and breaks his balance. If he comes forward, there's sensitive spots on his body where this works really effective. Okay, you can see the little pressure point there. What I want you to do, though, is to be sensitive. I'm going to switch to the safety tip, though, because I don't want to cause any unnecessary pain to my partner. Safety tip. Don't leave home without it. I'll let Sensei Chris hold the cane. These are the targets that are most effective against the one-hand return of energy. You have, we call this the ram's head, and you can see why, the ram's head. There's 2 spots here along those lines on opposing parts of the body. And those are very, very active spots. The reason why they're so effective for one-hand return of the cane is because the cane will anchor in those spots, and you can see as he goes in and I push forward, see, it literally compresses around the cane and locks the cane into the spot. Now if he goes on the forward spot, it's even better. See, because when I'm moving forward here in an attack, this spot is already closed on itself, and you can see how it locks the cane in there, and he returns my energy and drives me back. If he goes for the away spot, which is not already closed as I'm stepping forward and my weight's forward, if he goes on the rear spot, it's possible to do it, but it's also possible as he goes forward to lose the spot. If I turn out of it here, it's very difficult. Okay, sorry about that. We ran out of power a second ago, so I had to track down some batteries so we could continue. I'm not sure if we finished the last thought, so I'm just going to pick up with what I was saying. Sensei Chris, he's applying pressure into my quad, or the ram's head as we call it here. And again, you can see why we call it the ram's head. And I was giving some detail about the ideal move is against the forward point because it locks it in very precisely, and it's hard for me to back away from it. If I back away, he just drives it into my center line. If he goes for the rear point, it's a bit of a stretch for him, and I have the ability to turn and to knock it off. Okay, so as a general rule, when somebody comes in, if I sense he's coming in with the right hand punch, I'll go on the right side. Okay, now we're talking about soft targets, and we're continuing just to keep our focus on soft targets. Soft targets means targets that are responsive to a one-hand counter. See, generally, if a target is coming in with a lot of energy, and you react with a single hand, you'll lose some of your effect here because you don't have a base of support behind the cane. So the two obvious targets are here. The solar plexus is the third target, and the fourth target is the throat itself. And you have the low point of the throat connected with the collarbone, which has a recess which you can drive the cane into. So it's a very vulnerable point. Again, since I'm wearing a shorter shirt here, more visible, if I come forward and he goes into the solar plexus, as I close on him, okay, here he's going under, up, and in. He's going into the soft, tissues underneath, and he applies some pressure. Now, if all he does is he rebounds off of me, if I come forward, and you can see the impact of how dramatic it is, how he can basically just cycle all my energy back at me, delivering it very efficiently into a small spot. It's very painful, and it's very effective. And we're just talking about very quick, clean, simple moves here, okay? And these 4 or 5 points will allow that. So he comes forward, point 1. He comes forward, point 2. Comes forward, solar plexus. Comes forward on the throat. Forward again on the throat. So he reacted the first time. I have a little bit of control still in my older years compared to the old days. But you can see how I'm directly on the throat. If he walks forward just a little bit, and if I resist it, you can see the amount of pressure by the imprint of the. I'm going to show you that. And that's just him walking forward. Okay, you can see the residual imprint. Now, he's not hurt from that. We were not doing this to cause a physical injury, but the imprint of the protective base was quite visible. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the major points for the simple counter. And again, the simple counter means one hand is holding the cane. It's quite different when you use 2 hands. There's one other point I want you to be aware of. He steps back and he throws a right punch at him. He just comes at him. Okay, the brachial attack. Okay, this is extremely effective and extremely painful. It's the brachial reflex, and when you drive his energy, focusing it into that spot, it will stop him dead in his tracks. It takes great precision to get that, though, but it's not as hard as you think. And if you practice this for a month or 2, you'll be able to hit these points consistently. Because you actually have a lot of time. See, he comes forward, and I've got time to find the spot. He comes forward, see, and I have time to find it. But you just have to develop that touch within yourself by practicing. And the way to practice is to practice, in slow motion with the partner, trying not to hurt each other, but doing it like you're learning a dance or a drill so that you can consistently hit these spots just as consistently as if you were reaching for a glass in a cabinet. When's the last time you did that and missed the glass? You never miss the glass. You just get it. And this has to be a natural, simple, easy flow, just like that, like reaching forward for a glass. In fact, it even feels the same way. He throws the punch again, and I'm into the brachial reflex. What happens if I miss it? The nice thing about missing this is if you miss it, you're onto the throat target, and you have a clear point that's just as effective. So we have 1, 2, 3. Frontal throat target, brachial reflex target, and the angular throat target. And we'll let you see the angular throat target against myself as he comes in on the brachial reflex and misses. And he's right here beside the stem of my throat. It's just like another clasping point which closes around the cane. I think you can see that as he does that. And as I try to get away, he locks onto it, just drives me back. Okay? Now, a little bit of this is like riding a surfboard. If he's on the point, as I move, he alters his position to stay on it and to keep me under control. If I try to get away, you see what happens here? The turning, twisting motion that he applies. If he's on any of these targets and twist, do a twist. See it? How the energy of the twist is manifested by the distortion of my shirt. All of that is, he's actually locking onto my flesh underneath, and he's twisting all my surface dermatomes. So I have the pain of the thrust going in, and then I have the pain of the surface dermatomes rotating around that, working in concert, making this an extremely effective self-defense technique. Okay, so what we've done just now is we've talked about the single, simple, first move response to somebody coming in, just putting the cane out there and bouncing their energy back at them, and then maybe later on even adding some of your own energy to it. This is the quick, clean, simple first set of responses that you want to develop so that you can use against 5, maybe 6 or 7 targets that are the most vulnerable in your attacker's body. And this is the first stage of cane self-defense, but it's not taught initially because it takes a little bit of practice before you develop the sensitivity and the ability to find these targets consistently. I think you're all ready for that if you looked at the other videos. So take this to your school, find somebody to practice it with safely, and see if it adds anything to what all you're trying to do with the martial arts. Until later, take care of yourself.